This is the Gametime Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Gametime Guru podcast. My name is Shane Larson, host of the show. 6 years running now doing the Gametime Guru, and you know, it's interesting. We're in 179 countries at the time of this recording, all 50 states in the United States, but a large part of the reason that we've reached so many countries is because of the guests that we've brought on. And today is no different. We're going to be bringing on a guest who is across the pond, and he's going to be sharing his story with us through the mixed martial arts field. Now, before I formally introduce him, just want to remind you guys that the episode here is being brought to you by ClickFunnels. If you guys are an entrepreneur, a business owner, you have a brand, business, whatever you're trying to represent, you're trying to get an online presence, you guys want to use ClickFunnels. It's a great software to help you enhance everything, to get leads, to make sales for your business. It's a sales funnel builder, basically, and it'll replace your website. So with that being said, I've got a great deal going on with ClickFunnels. If you guys go ahead and hit the link that's in the description of this podcast, you guys can get an annual pricing of ClickFunnels, which is going to save you an astronomical amount of money. So check that out. Get the link here, and yeah, check it out. So as I'm introducing my guest, as we get into this, you guys all know, the ones who have listened to me or have followed me on social media, or those who just know me personally, I love combat sports. I'm a former boxer. I loved it. I mean, I'm 34 years old now, so I kind of got away from that. But back in my high school and my college days, fought for Golden Gloves here in the state of Idaho. But I just love combat sports. I used to train jiu-jitsu when I was younger. Loved that as well. I never put the full package together, though, in mixed martial arts. So that's why I have such a huge respect for those who do. Huge respect for the sport of mixed martial arts, where it's at now, and for the competitors that go in there and do their thing. So today we're talking to a professional mixed martial artist out of the UK. He's fighting at Dragon's Lair MMA in the Cage Warriors promotion over there in the UK. His name is Jack Eglin. And Jack, we're stoked to have you on here, man. Thanks for joining the show.
Man, thank you for having me, brother. Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. We're stoked to have you, brother. I'm so glad for the connection. I got to shout out Sophia for the connection there too, because it was just so cool. I was excited to just be able to finally bring somebody on and in this space, and I think it's going to be an amazing story. So I want to rewind the clock real quick, Jack. Let's talk a little bit about your background and what got you into mixed martial arts. So, you know, everybody has a different story on why they get into mixed martial arts. Sometimes the people that get into MMA are former, you know, football players or wrestlers or whatever it may be. And then after high school or whatever their schooling is done, like, they don't have a way to compete at that level anymore. So they go into mixed martial arts. Some of them start fighting in mixed martial arts when they're a young kid. And so I just kind of want to know your background. So let's rewind the clock and get to know when you decided, Jack, that you really wanted to go into the sport of mixed martial arts.
Yeah, man. So like, I started kickboxing when I was 9. I want to say about 9. I was playing football, and I was obviously I was going to and stuff like that, and I was going to school, whatever. And then obviously I moved up to secondary school. And I kind of realized school wasn't for me when I was about 13. Like, I hated school from like young. It was never for me. Like, I didn't get on well in school. Like, it just, yeah, me and school did not click. So, like, I was kind of like, early on, I was kind of aware of like, right, what do I want to do? Because school is not it. I knew that. So, like, I was training, and I knew, like, at this point, by the time I was like 12, I knew football. I wasn't gonna go. I knew where my level was in it. I was never gonna go like full, like, all the way. So, like, fighting came so naturally, and I loved it. Like, it was just like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I feel like I was born for it. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but like, I've always had something that has just drawn me to it. So being from like 13 years old, I just knew this was the sport, and this is what I was going to dedicate myself to, and do whatever it sort of took to chase it from young. So yeah, from like 13 was when I got into it.
Wow. Okay. So you were at a relatively young age getting into MMA.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this. I mean, you had a little bit of kickboxing experience. The kickboxing in mixed martial arts is a tad different than it is in just normal kickboxing. And it's the same thing with me. Like, I always told people, like, when I'm like messing around with people and I'm trying to box, It's a little different when I'm boxing a boxer or doing a mixed martial arts. You got to keep your hands
Yeah,
lower in mixed martial arts because you got to defend the takedown and stuff.
takedowns.
But
Yeah. And you
talk to us
can
about that.
and well, like it's with MMA, you have to like the best way to like you can never go too much into one. Like if you like, I like boxing. I feel like I'm a good boxer. Like I feel like I'm even now I'm up there with some of the best boxers in. I would say the in MMA boxing wise, I feel like I'm up there. Anyway, like I feel like I can hang decently. Like I've sparred with some good guys, and like you can just never like I've sparred boxers, and it's completely different. Like you can feel like you're a good boxer when you're like in MMA against an MMA guy. Then when you go against just a boxer, like you realize quickly like it's a whole other ball game because the stance is different. You can't stand the same in MMA because of kicks, because of like if you sit too low, you're gonna get kneed. You can't move your head the same. You can't. It's smaller gloves, so you can't just rely on like sitting and relying on your hands and like sitting in the pocket. And the same thing is like you can't sit in the pocket because you just get clinched. No one's gonna sit in the pocket with you and trade because they'll just clinch you. Why would they get hit when they can just grab hold of you? Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a completely different ball game. And then same with kickboxing, like it's not a kickboxing fight. If you start thinking it's a kickboxing fight, next thing you know, the geezer can start faking takedowns or start level changing in certain ways and feinting in certain ways where it's like it changes the fight completely. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah, it's mad. I don't know how to find like the best way to explain it is you have to find the middle of each one that is the best for you and suited to your style and how you fight and sort of like find that like perfect balance of each. Like you can't go too boxer, not too much kickboxer, but find the balance of them. Or I don't know how to explain it. Same with like it's even in grappling though. You can never just go full wrestling because you can get a really good jiu-jitsu guy who will catch you. So you have to be able to do both. So it's like the balance for sure.
Totally. And I think the casual fan doesn't realize that. I don't think
Nah.
they understand that because they might see old videos of the UFC in the early 90s where like you had Hoist Gracie who could just go in there with a gi and just submit everybody without any kind of
Yeah,
striking. Well,
yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't work anymore.
Nah, the
All
thing
the
is you
athletes are
have to be
good.
good everywhere now. Like the at the top now, like if you're not well rounded, you don't last. Like it's just not. It's the sport's evolved. Like you have to be good everywhere. You can't just be a striker now, or you can't just be a wrestler. Like even Habib, he could like somewhat compared to most people. He's got hands. Do you know what I mean? He's got so his. He's not that like. Don't be wrong. Like he doesn't hide the fact that he's gonna come in and try to take you down, but he can throw hands. He knows how to hold his hands up. He knows how to throw a jab. He knows how to throw like a 1-2. Do you know what I mean? He's got his fundamentals at least. Like that, everyone is somewhat good everywhere. They might be a bit better in a certain thing, but they can do everything at the top level. Like you can't just be a one-trick pony in this game no more.
That's such an interesting point, especially about Habib, because I remember, I mean, against Connor, he hit him with an overhand right and clipped Connor there. Against Gaethje, if anybody goes back and watches the Gaethje Habib fight, he was actually standing with Gaethje for the first whole round. He wasn't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
clinching
yeah.
him at all. Like he was going with him, trying to throw
But
hands. He took a couple kicks too with that. He
it's the
got a
same
couple ones.
even when he fought Barbosa. Like he just walked him
Ah,
down like he was nothing. And Barbosa's not just someone you can walk down. Like that
exactly.
takes skill. It's not like I know it looks like to casual people it just looks like he's walking forward. But in reality, he's not just walking forward. It's not that fucking. It's not. Can I swear? Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine, man.
Yeah, like it's not that fucking simple. Do you know what I mean? Do you know when people are like, "Oh, you should have punched him more," and I just think, "Huh, yeah, yeah." Do you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe. Do you know what I mean? I could have done that, but it's not that fucking simple. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know how to. It is though. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to casuals, they're like sometimes you think like I just like I'm always polite, but sometimes I just think like you can tell if someone knows what they're on about and if they're not. Like it's a sport at the end of the day where if you don't know what you're watching, it's the same with football. If I was got to go and watch American football, I don't know enough. I don't know what's like. Do you know what I mean? I don't know the maddest plays. It could be a sick player. I don't know. Do you know, because I don't know the sport. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's
Totally.
like it all depends on how you look at it. Like some people can look at Habib and think he's boring, and some people look at him and think he's amazing. Same with Mayweather. Like it's just one of them things. It's one of them sports. You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally. Now, Jack, this is a fun conversation, man, because you understand the sport, and I love chatting with guys who actually know what they're talking about because you're in it. Talk to us about. So you started when you were 13, but how long did you fight as an amateur? I guess as a competitor. How long did you compete as an amateur prior to going pro? And to the second follow up question to that
Yeah.
is can you explain some of the differences between amateur mixed martial arts and professional mixed martial arts? Because I don't know if there's differences in the UK than compared over here to the US, but I think it's pretty
No, there
similar.
is. Yeah,
Oh, is there?
it's
Okay,
similar
go
in
ahead.
way. It's similar in ways, but very different at the same time. So in the in the states, some states you can fight with 4-ounce gloves on as an amateur. Like Arizona, you fight with 4-ounce gloves on as an amateur. It's still the same rules. You can't knee to the head and you can't elbow, but like you fight with 4-ounce gloves on. Whereas in the UK, it's 7-ounce gloves, so it's a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then it's 3-minute rounds as an amateur, and then as a pro, it's 5-minute rounds. That's a big difference. That's the big one. That I will add in there. That 2 minutes, game changer. Game changer for sure. And then to answer your first question, so as an amateur, just MMA wise, so I made my MMA debut. I was 16, going on 17. I think I was 16. And then I turned pro when I was 20. And so I thought, yeah, I would roughly say if I count like when I had a first fight in a cage, I was 14, which was K1. I fought K1 in a cage when I was 14. So like my first fight in a cage, I was 14. But like as an amateur MMA, it was 16 going on 17. So I fought like 4 years. I had like 15 amateurs. It's a bit different to boxing. Do you know what I mean? In boxing, you fight every weekend. Like in MMA, it's a bit different. It's like you don't fight as much, even as an amateur. It's not like an every weekend thing, unless you go to the IMAFs. IMAFs as an amateur is very different. So you have shin guards. You have to wear a rash guard. So you're not topless. You have to wear a rash guard. And the gloves are bigger too. So, and you fight and you make weight on the day. So like my amateur show, I made weight day before. Like I had day before weigh-ins even as an amateur. And then some amateur shows do same day weigh-in. Like IMAF, they do same day weigh-in, and you weigh in every day, 5 days in a row, and fight like every day for 5 days. So it all depends. And then obviously as you turn pro, like I said, the difference is you get knees to the head, elbows to the head, 4-ounce gloves. You're getting paid, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you get the 5 minutes too. So
yeah, so I'm glad you expanded upon that because a lot of people don't even realize the gloves.
I feel like I went off track a little bit then too. Sorry, that was my
No, dude. No, this is great. I'm glad you expanded on that. That's exactly what the point of the show is to hear the story and get the insight from the people who are there. So, from a glove standpoint, what some people may not understand is like the difference between a 4-ounce glove and a 7-ounce glove. Like, I mean, some might say, well, that's not much at all. Well, it is. It can be. It can be. And it's the same thing as like when I remember, I'll liken this to my experience, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Is I used to spar in boxing. This is a different sport, but in boxing we'd spar with 14s or 16s.
Yeah.
Usually it was 16s, and sometimes we had guys who had 20 ounces, like the big heavyweights that would be fighting with me just to get their arms.
Always like 18 to 20 ounce at least.
Dude, they're monsters, and I have an opinion of
and boxers. Hey, you don't spar. You fuckers fight.
Dude, that's true.
In gyms that I've been to anyway, not all of the gyms. I definitely won't say all the gyms, but like it's a lot more so in the boxing gyms that I've been to. Like geezers try to fuck you up way more than they do in MMA. People in MMA gyms are so much nicer. Like you go in a pro boxing gym, especially if you go to someone's gym, they try and fuck you up. It's like you're trying to rob something from their house. No lie.
That's so true.
Or you owe them money. I swear down.
Yeah, dude, we were throwing hands, man. Like it was crazy. Yeah, it was wild. But here's the thing though, is like we would be fighting with those, and I remember my very first actual fight, my first bout was with 12 ounces because I fought at 185, and so I was fighting I was 185 pounds at the time. I wish I was that little still. Like I'm definitely not that small anymore. But dude, and we fought with 12 ounces, and the difference between that compared to what I was used to, I mean, they felt like they were harder for one, and two, I just felt so much faster. And so like especially when he connected with me and I connected with him, like you could feel the impact. So yeah, and 4-ounce gloves, are you kidding me? Bro, like there's a big difference there, man.
I swear down. So when I remember when I first started, so when I was like 14 and I first started sparring in MMA gloves, so I had all kickboxing fights. It's all like I was a kid, so it wasn't like massive gloves, but it was still a boxing glove. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I had fought boxing, and I had fought K1, which is still the boxing glove. So I remember going from sparring in boxing gloves to then sparring in a 7-ounce glove. this is why I think in MMA gyms people spar nicer. It's because you're sparring in 7-ounce gloves, mate. When you're sparring in a pair of 7-ounce gloves, you don't have to hit someone hard to drop them.
Right.
You really don't. Like, you can barely turn a shot over sometimes if you land it right and time it right. Like, it's a 7-ounce glove. Like, it's fuck all. Do you know what I mean? It's fuck all, mate. I swear down, it's horrible. So like, it just makes that, like, you have to be a bit more controlled. You can't go like boxing. Like, they rip like 100% of the body sometimes. You can't do that in a pair of 7-ounce gloves. Like, you'll break ribs and shit. Like, people just fold. You can't, especially if you hit hard. Like, generally, you can't. It's always it's shit.
Dude, I'm so glad I'm talking to you because I need the listeners of this show who have been with me for 6 years to understand these simple concepts that, like, I don't think anybody understands the intricacies of the sport like you're sharing. So this is why I love these conversations, man. It's like the gloves. That's such a good conversation because people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes.
Massive difference.
Big difference, man.
Mate, and
So
there's like little tricks, like I know, like, there's some slimy little tricks you can like think. If I've got you against the fence, I can hit you with these knuckles, like these ones. They're not covered. I can just aim for your eye socket and just start like smacking you with them. It's allowed. Do you know what I mean? Do you know how much that sucks? And people don't realize, like, little things like that, mate. Do you know how much that hurts? There's so many ways you can just be a horrible, nasty. See you next Tuesday, mate. I swear I don't. With little
I
gloves.
love it. So Jack, here's the okay. So this is great because I'm getting to know more about you. Now we're gonna get into your career a little bit more too, because some might hear what you just said right there, like hitting with those knuckles across the eye, and like they'd say, why do you want to do this sport? So I want to know, like, you said you
I
didn't like
love fighting.
school. Yeah, that's okay. So you love fighting. Okay, you just love it. So tell me this. Growing up, and then when you started getting into the combat sports world, did you have somebody that you looked up to in the sport or in the combat sports world? Was there anybody that you looked up to?
Like, I wouldn't say I looked up to, but like, I wanted to kind of like follow what they were doing in the sense of like where they were. My coach fought in the UFC. He's retired now, but one of my coaches anyway, Bradley Scott, his name was. He was a 185er in the UFC. And he fought at 172. Fought on the Ultimate Fighter. Fought Rob Whittaker in the finale, and stuff like that. Like, he was really good. Like, he could have done like some big things in the sport. Just his career didn't go that way. But like, through him, I like kind of like could see it was reachable, if that makes sense. Like, he's the only person from where I'm from that's done anything like that. Like, no one else has done it. It's not like I don't know anyone else other than him. So it's like I had him to follow suit, but like I've kind of just taken his blueprint. Like, I'm then now the next one, if that makes sense. Like, obviously there's been fighters from where I'm from, but not like at a high level. Like, we've had Cage Royce, but he's the only one that's got to the UFC. We've had Cage Royce, we've had Bellator and stuff, but like he's the highest of that. Like, he was the one that got to the UFC. So now I'm trying to take his blueprint, if that makes sense.
Totally, man. Totally. So Jack, for you as a professional, what does a day look like for you? Because a lot of fighters, there's a discussion about fighter pay. Like, yes, at the professional level, you do get paid, but
Yeah.
there, in the UFC, even, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry right now,
Well,
there.
so I would say, I'll say that. So right now, like, I have work tomorrow. I have to get up at 6:30 tomorrow to go to work. Like, I like at the minute I'm working. When I'm in America, like, I don't work. I train full time. Like, I'm there for camp. So like, so for my last camp, like a day would be, uh, get up in the morning, and I'd not say if it was let's say just take a Tuesday. I'd get up. I'd have pads, and I'd probably do some pads in the morning. And then either maybe a lift or something, or like, or another session, depending on how I feel. But normally just pads. And then later on that night I'll have wrestling, and wrestling sucks. Like, wrestling's the Tuesday wrestling practice at the lab is like one of the hardest days. So that's the day you're going in for a grind, like more so than any other day. So like, I don't know, mainly 2 sessions a day, and then you're resting. You're trying to make sure like each session, like, you're getting in between. You make sure you get your rest, you eat, you're fueling yourself properly, and that. And like, the thing is, when you're a professional athlete, like, you don't train the same as what a normal person can't fathom the difference of how hard a professional athlete has to push themselves, if that makes sense. Like, I go and work tomorrow and I can't train like I do when I train in camp because I've been at work all day. Like I couldn't push myself the way I do in a camp because I'm at work all day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a training camp and you're training, like the way you push yourself as a professional is different to what a normal person is, because you like you're driving towards something. I'm striving towards something. Like don't be wrong, I make sure I give 100% effort every day in the gym. But if I worked all day, I can't. There's no way I'm going to perform as well as I would if I had rested and like got a good night's sleep and not have to get up early and go to work and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like I know when I do get to the certain point where I want to be, then I know I'm not going to have to work. But at this moment in time, I do work and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so the sacrifice is there. That's what I like to hear, the behind the scenes stuff, because yeah, for somebody who's aspiring to get to that highest level,
yeah,
sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit to make
for
ends
sure.
meet for now, and then you
Yeah, man,
eventually
I
get to
just don't
that
want to
point.
get myself in no debts or nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to take over. I work as much as like I have to, just to make sure I can like run my car and don't I have to pay like my insurance and all this and all that. But like I just work just enough, if that makes sense, just to tide me
Yeah,
over. I don't like I know the long run is just training, but for right now I have to work, if that makes sense. It's just
totally.
part and parcel. Like it's, is what it is.
100%, man. 100%. So Jack, tell us about this. What is your pre-fight ritual? Like, do you listen to a certain type of music
I
when
don't have
it's
one.
fight night? Well, what's a fight night look like to you when it's time to actually
Shit,
go?
man. Like fight day as a whole, I try to just be as most relaxed as possible. Just like you don't want to be amped up the whole day, like because come fight night, you'll be fucking shattered. You'll be so tired, your adrenaline will just go. So you just treat it as another day, like just chill out. Fight morning, I'll do a little shakeout because of the weight cut. I kind of like to just like wake my body a little bit on fight morning before I go for breakfast and stuff. Like I like to little bit of pads, a little run or something, like just to shake off. Nothing crazy, but just to break a sweat and loosen up and stuff. Um, Chill out, try and get a nap for like an hour or so, 2 hours before I go to the venue. Um, when I was at the venue last time, I kind of just laid down, put some headphones in, chilled out for like an hour, like just shut my eyes, laid down, and then started warming up. Like it's mate, it's another day. If to me, if I'm honest, like it's like don't be wrong, I get nervous. Like I do get nervous for sure, like super nervous. If you don't get nervous, like you don't care. To me, that's the way I feel. Like if you don't get nervous, like you're either nuts, like you just have no fear, or like you don't care.
Yeah.
Like if you care about something and you don't want to lose, there's gonna be nerves there. It's not that I'm scared of the person. Like if I was scared of the person, I wouldn't sign the contract. I'm not scared to fight anyone. Like I've been knocked out, I've been choked out. Shit doesn't scare me. I'm not scared. Like I'm not scared of another man my size. No way. The fight, if you're the better man, you're the better man. But you'll know you've been in a fight. Do you know what I mean? But like, if you're, I get nervous and all that. But like, I don't know. Fight day is just fight day, man. Like it's another day to me. Like I live to fight. Like I love it. I enjoy it. Like, but at the same time, you get the nerves. You feel alive. I don't know how else to explain it.
So as you mentioned, you cut weight. So what can you tell the listeners what weight you're fighting at, and then like talk to us about the weight cut. Like how much are you actually cutting before fight night? Because that's a big topic in all
Yeah,
combat sports is weight cutting.
yeah. So I fight at 135. So 61 point. So if it's a non-title fight and you get the pound allowance, which is like amazing, that pound is fucking out. Like, mate, that pound is a massive difference. Just to anyone that doesn't know that, like that pound is amazing. So if you're not fighting for a title, you get 136 to 135. And then if it's a title, you have to be 135 or like below, but you're gonna be 135. But I walk round at so kilos wise because I do kilos. I walk around probably 74 kilos, and I fight at 61. So I
God.
cut like it and figures 2.2 pounds per kilo. So I cut like 14 kilos. So it's like 28 pounds I lose.
And when do you start your weight cut typically before your
Six,
fights? Like when
six
is it
weeks
2 weeks
out.
out? Six?
Nah,
You're doing
six,
it 6 weeks.
weeks.
So
6
you're doing it in a
weeks.
healthy way. Like it's not like
Yeah,
one
it's not that.
massive drop.
Hey, like I dropped 4 kilos the night. So I do like 4 kilos to 3.5 kilos in water.
Oh
So
wow.
like
Okay.
8 pounds. Yeah, I think I did 7 or 8 pounds the night before weigh-ins in water.
Man. So what's like
Mate,
your
it was
best
easier.
trick for it though? Like that's what I was gonna
Mate, my
say. Like,
last
what's your
weight cut
trick?
was I don't know, mate. There's no trick to it. Like, I think as long as you're prepared, like if you make sure that like you've dieted properly, you make sure you haven't cut no corners in your training, you've water loaded properly, you're making sure you cut your carbs at the right time, and you're like, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you just if your preparation all round the board, like you take it serious and you do it professionally, the weight cut, everything follows suit. Like, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then it's just down to you on the fight night. Then really, like as long as you prepare right, everything else should follow suit. And then fight night is fight night. Like what will be will be. You just got to go in and give 100% at the end of the day. Like that's all you can do.
totally. No, it's cool to hear you're doing it the right way though, because there's so many fighters out there,
Yeah,
Jack,
mate.
that like
I'm trying to longevity in your career. I'm young. Like people who were doing all these crazy weight cuts and that, like they're not looking at the bigger picture. Their career will be shortened by doing that. It's like you'll never stop weight cutting, but like if you're gonna cut a lot of weight, do it properly. Don't try and leave it until like 4 weeks out and you've got like 30 pounds and then you're like, fuck, you're cutting it. Do you know what I mean? You know you're cutting it close. It's pretty professional. Like it's obviously different if you take a fight on short notice, but if you know you're not gonna make the weight, ask for a catch weight. Don't tell someone you're gonna make the weight and then kill yourself trying to do it. But like if you've got 8 weeks to prepare, there's no reason you shouldn't make weight. You're a professional. So you're not an
totally.
amateur. Do you know what I mean? Like you sign on the dotted line, it's your job at the end of the day. Like that's another difference. Like you were asking earlier about difference between amateur and professional. When you're a pro, you shouldn't miss weight. It's your job. Like shit like that annoys me.
Yeah, as it should. I respect that about you because I mean there's a lot of debate on the weight cutting and so forth, and some people just don't take it seriously, and it's a disrespect I
I
feel to the
like,
sport.
I feel like if you try it, like all you can do is try. Like some people like try to do too much and they fail. Like, but if they've tried, and sometimes you can clearly see if someone's really tried to make weight. Like you can see they're fucked on the scale. Like, and they can't do no more. Like I've heard of people try that hard, they stop sweating. They can't physically sweat anymore, mate. Like I've seen it happen. Like there is no longer sweat coming out of them. They could sit in the sauna and they will not sweat anymore because their body won't release anymore. Like if you get like if you're tried that much, like it's like I get if you stop cutting weight, like I understand at that point because your health comes first. But like, mate, some people like don't even try and they just miss weight by like 5 pounds or like 3 pounds or and then that annoys me. That shit
Oh yeah,
pisses me off. Like you can see the difference in someone that's tried and not tried. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that's when I think like that's when fights should just their whole purse should be taken in that sense.
totally.
You know what I mean? Because then people won't miss.
Yeah, they wouldn't miss. I mean, I remember Israel Adesanya mentioning that, like, take 90% and not
Mate,
30% and see
people
what
would not
happens.
miss, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah, mate.
they'll figure out a
People
way to
would
make
not,
weight.
mate. People would not miss weight, mate. They would go up a weight class if they knew they would struggle that much. You know what I mean? Because they'd be like,
100%.
"Fuck, I ain't losing my purse." Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm not putting all the time in for
They
that.
probably couldn't even pay their manager if they had to give 90%. They probably had
That's
to pay their
exactly what it
manager
is. Yeah.
20. Do you know what I mean? They'd be in 10% of debt, mate. Fuck that.
Exactly. Yeah, forget that crap, dude. That sucks, man.
Fuck that.
So here's this. I want to ask you about like the fights. So a lot of fighters, I want to talk to you about your favorite wins and then how you deal with losses because a lot of athletes that listen to my
Oh yeah.
show, I mean,
I
I
can
tell them,
relate to that
yeah, there's like a lot of ups and downs in any sport. That's just like life. Life is like a heartbeat. It goes
for
up,
sure.
up and down, but it's good because you don't want to flatline. That's a flatline means death, right? You want it to be like this,
Yeah.
but you have to
For
be
real.
able to get yourself back up when you lose. So talk to us about like Jack, if you don't mind sharing an experience that was like your favorite win, and then talk to us about a loss that you've taken and how you are going to respond to that.
Yeah, yeah. My favorite win. It's a hard one. Probably like the highest of like high I had from a fight. Like after like my adrenaline was like that high. And it was like was my pro debut win. Like that was crazy. Like I didn't sleep. I did not sleep after that fight. Off adrenaline, like I was like till like 7, 8 a.m. the next morning. I was just wired awake. Like I could not sleep. Like it was crazy. But like probably the one that like felt like the most to me, like, and I really was I won an 8-man tournament when I was an amateur,
Oh
and
wow.
going into the tournament, so it was 3 fights in one night. So I fought 3 times. I won 3 fights in one night. Um, and that was again, and I beat like 3 geezers who were like top 15 in the country at the time too, as amateurs. Like, um, and I was on a 3-fight losing streak going into the tournament. I'd lost 3 fights on the bounce as an amateur, which like some people would probably look at and think maybe the sport's not for me. Do you know what I mean? But I had like full confidence in myself, and like I knew I could do it. Like I just needed to put the performances in. Like it wasn't that I was losing because I was shit and I couldn't fight. I was just
Right.
making mistakes, like errors. Like it happens. I was just making errors, and like so going into it, like I just had like almost like a fuck you mentality. Like, and I really wanted to prove to people I was like I went in and we didn't know who we were fighting until the weigh-ins. So it was like a draw of the hat at the weigh-ins.
Wow.
Like in names, we all stood in a line and they just drawed our names out, and then we had to go and face off like straight away. It was a mad experience. You know what I mean, so that was sick, and like that probably meant the most as the win, like because it was like against good guys. Like I've beat 3 good guys, like none of them were shit. Like, and it was like because I was on a 3-fight losing streak, I just like it meant so much, if that makes sense. And
Totally.
then the lowest of lows, I would say, is my last 2 fights, man. Like I've lost my last 2 fights in a row. Do you know what I mean? So I've got like that same mentality now. Like I've got a lot of people who are doubting me now. Rightfully so, I've lost 2 fights. So people are gonna look at it and think that. But anyone who knows fighting and watches me fight, watch my 2 last fights and then talk to me, and then I can guarantee they say, yeah, this kid can fight. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just I've been making mistakes. Like it's not that I'm shit, and I know I can compete at the highest level. I know I can. I've sparred with some of the best geezers in the world. Like I know I can compete at the levels. It's just like I need to start putting them performances in, if that makes sense. And
Uh-huh.
like, so that's like like if I'm honest, the lowest point I've been at was after my last fight. Like that, like for real, straight
So
up.
so when you say you were low though, like was it by submission that you lost that last one?
Yeah.
So when you make a tap out or
I
however
didn't
it goes,
tap.
oh, did you go out?
Yeah,
Yeah. So as you go out and you come to and you realize that you've lost, talk to us about the emotions that you feel as a fighter because there's a lot.
devastation.
I'm sure you're probably like trying to think about like,
No,
no,
no other word than devastated, mate.
dang, dude.
That's the only word. Devastated, mate. Like generally devastated. It's my life. No other word for it. Like it feels like it's not as like there's heart. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it hurts a lot. Like I can't describe it. It like hurts. So if you put like anyone who knows that like anyone who's put 100% like nothing more like their whole life into something and then they fail, they'll know the pain. Like you can't describe it. It's a horrible fucking feeling. Like just devastated. Like that's how I felt. Like there's that only word. Like after my last 2 fights, just devastated because it's my life. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm trying. It's not like if if I was like half-assing it, it probably would have bothered me. Do you know what I mean? But like I spent almost 5 months. Do you know what I mean? Preparing for the fight. I was away for 4 months away from my family, like training my ass off, giving everything. I dieted. I didn't cut no corners. Like everything was perfect. Do you know what I mean? And then you lose, and it's just like fuck.
Yeah. I
Like, and
can
the worst bit was I woke up. So like for you to like, obviously you asked what it was like. So I got like I got choked out. So when I came to after getting choked out, I didn't even know I'd fought. I just
Oh
woke up with an
wow.
oxygen mask on and doctors and the ref over my head. So I woke up and I looked and I was like, what the fuck happened? Do you know what I mean? That's literally what I said. I went, what the fuck happened? And then they went, you got choked out, and I just and then it sinks in. It's just like fuck. That's all
Oh
I said. Fuck.
man. Dude, see, I can actually feel
But
it
like
like as you're
you can't,
talking.
and I don't know how else to explain it. Like I can't blame it on no one. I'm
Right.
man enough to admit that it was me that lost. I can't say it was my coach. Can't say it was the ref. I lost. Like I'm man enough to admit it. So like I don't have no one to blame. I shake man's hand. He was a better man on the night. But like all I can say is I learned from my losses. Like I learned because they hurt so much. Like I don't know how else to explain it. It hurts that much to where I will make sure the shit don't happen again.
So that's that right there, Jack, is what I wanted to ask you is like, what are the next steps? Because there's a lot of kids who are going to lose in sports, whatever it may be, whether it's mixed martial arts or any other sport. Now, how do you rebound? So what have you done
Well,
since then to rebound?
you have to ask yourself the question of like, one, is this really what you want? Do you know what I mean? Because it's a hard sport. Like, it's not a sport like you have to be all in. If you're already like debating it, it's not a sport for you. Like, you're playing with your health every time you get in there. So you have to ask yourself that, and you have to like look at it. And this is when you see what sort of man you are, like your character. Like, you don't judge a man off when he's winning. You judge a man on when everything's against him, and how do they react? How do you react now? Do you know what I mean? Do you let
Totally.
it break you, or do you, right, shit, this is my cards I've been dealt. Just tie your shoelaces up, pack a fucking lunch, pick yourself up and get going. Do you know what I mean? You got like that's all I can do. Mate, like I said to you, school, none of this. Like, I have no plan B. I don't have a choice. I have to make this work. Generally, I pop my eggs in my basket from 13 years old. All eggs, all chips. I'm the sort of person that's all in on something, or I'm not in at all. Like, you can ask anyone that knows me. If I'm not all in, I just don't bother. I don't show no. That's just life. It's how I am in life generally. So like with this, I don't have anything other than this. I have to make it work. Like, generally. So like I have a different hunger to someone who might have gone to university and has a backup plan. I generally have no choice but to make this work. Like, I have to figure it out. Like, I have to dust myself off. I have to pick myself up. Like, I have no other choice but to make this work, regardless. Like, generally, I don't have nothing else. This is me. Like, I know I can make this work, and I just got to do it. I just got to start performing the way I know I can, and I'll do it. Trust me. What we haven't, we'll do an interview in 5 years' time and watch where I am in 5 years.
No, I can't wait. That's what I already know that. I can already tell it. So this is awesome. So Jack, what is next for you currently? Like, what are we working towards? Do you have a fight on deck right now, or are we just
So
training and waiting?
I'm ticking over at the minute. Just over like Christmas period and that.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going back in the camp January. And then I'll be ready for March. I'll be fighting in March.
And where's your
I'll have a
fight
date.
located?
I'm hoping London. That's where it's probably gonna be, is in London. Nothing's like signed, so I won't like say it's exact, but March for sure, March. So I'm going in camp January. I'm ticking over at the minute, just working, like trying to get better everywhere. Trying to keep my weight as low as I can before Christmas. But no promises on that one, you know what I mean? But yeah, just ticking over, and then come January, just be back in the camp, fully focused, ready to go come March.
So if all the stars aligned in 2023, how many times would you fight in 2023 if you had a choice and said, "Hey, I want
Minimum
to
three.
minimum
Minimum
of 3?"
three. I'm gonna fight 3 times next year, minimum.
I love it, man. So talk to me about Cage Warriors and like, a lot of people have heard about it. Here in the States, it's not so popular, but we do hear
Yeah,
about some of the guys coming over. Obviously, the Conor
yeah.
McGregors and some other guys that have been in
Paddy
Cage
and
Warriors. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, like I want people to understand that just
it's
because
a
it's
mate.
something you
The
go
best
ahead.
way to explain it is like, so like you got the UFC. Say, how can I put it into perspective for a man? So you got the NBA is the UFC, right? That's the highest of the high. Like,
Right.
whatever is one down from the NBA, that is Cage Warriors. You know what I
Would
mean?
you
If you're playing at one down from the NBA, like, and you know you're like on the verge of getting like that next step, like whether it's college ball, it's kind of like, yeah, to say college.
yeah.
Like, you're playing in like a D1 college, that's like fighting in like in Cage Warriors. Like, that's what builds you to get to the highest level. Like, that's the biggest show in Europe for sure. Is
That's
Cage Warriors.
how do you compare it to Bellator? Because some people want to know
Uh,
that.
so Bellator's like up there too. Like, Bellator and UFC are like pretty like similar in the sense of like they're fighting for that top spot. Like, UFC is more renowned, so like if you want to be known as the best, like UFC is the aim. Do you know what I mean, for everyone? But Bellator, like if you fight in Bellator, you're no shitter than anyone in the UFC. Really, like you can hang, if that makes sense. You
Yeah.
just got more guys who are a lot higher, like at the highest of levels in the UFC, because that's the aim. Everyone's aim is to get to the UFC. So
So that was my question for you then too, Jack. Is that what your ultimate goal is? Because you said you're the future Cage
my other
Warriors
goal
champion.
is, yeah, Cage Warriors champion, then UFC champ.
Yeah, at 135, right? This is you're gonna stick at 135.
135. Yeah, 135. As long as I, depending on how my body grows, like I'm only 23. Like if I fill out more, come like 27, and I'm a bit like, and it's really hard to make the weight, then I might go up to like 45,
Yeah,
maybe.
45.
But like as long as I'm making the weight cool and comfortable, like I'll keep fighting this way. I feel good. So
Dude, I want people to know, like, so I was joking around because I used to fight at 185, and I was a small guy in my weight class for boxing because everybody else was at like 200. Because in the amateurs you could be within 16 pounds of each other, so I was technically a light heavyweight in the amateurs of boxing back in the day. But that was 18 years ago that I finished up my career, or 16 years ago. But the thing is, I remember fighting guys that were like 45s and 55s. And people would be like, oh, dude, you're just going to roll those guys. They can't hit hard. No, you guys can hit so freaking hard. It's unbelievable how hard y'all hit. I was like, dude, no. I was like, you guys, you see these dudes that are standing about 5'8", 5'9". I'm sitting at 6'2". And I'm like, yeah, they're shorter, but those dudes snap punches and they hurt when they hit you. They rock your head back, dude. My nose still bleeds if it gets hit. It doesn't matter if it's a big dude or a small dude. My nose will start gushing blood. So I'm like, yeah, I love it when guys always like look at you guys that are the shorter guys that are a little bit smaller and think that you're going to be some punk. And you're like, nah, dude, you're out there throwing hands, man. I love it.
The thing is, if you know how to throw a punch in it, like regardless of your size, like if you know how to throw like your weight and properly know how to like throw a punch, mate, you'll put someone to sleep. I've seen like a lot smaller people sleep big geezers. Just because if you land on that button, mate, it don't take a lot. Do you know what I mean? If you land clean, mate, that's it. Like it's night. Like you have no say in the matter. Do you know what I mean?
Totally understand, man. Totally understand. Hey, Jack, I got one question for you. If you could give advice to any of the younger kids that are coming up right now in the sport of mixed martial arts, or any sport for that matter, but that's your sport right now is mixed martial arts. What's the biggest life lesson you have taken away from the sport that you could potentially give back to other kids, like saying, hey, like this is what you'll learn if you do the process?
For me, if I had like one bit of advice for anyone like a young kid coming up, believe in yourself, be confident in yourself, like back yourself, like make sure, like regardless, you're always like generally that is the one thing, because I would just say have that self belief in yourself to do it, and then just go and do whatever it takes. That's all you can do. Like believe in yourself that you can do it, and then everything else will fall into place. You just have to do whatever is necessary. Don't be lazy. Show up every day. Do you know what I mean? And believe in yourself. Don't you make sure you're doing the right sort of work. Don't just think you can just fucking hit the bag 3 times a week and that's enough. Like that's not going to be enough if you want to really do it. But like believe in yourself and do whatever it takes. Find the best gym, find the best training partners. Like make sure you're drilling, make sure you're sparring, make sure you're doing everything it takes. Like everything, and it'll fall into place. Just make sure you have that belief in yourself. That's what I would say. Like starts with you. Do you know what I mean? It does. It starts with you. Like generally, it does, isn't it? Like if you don't believe in yourself to start with, you're never gonna do it in the first place. Because if you don't believe in it, why would you do it?
100%, man. That is perfect. I'm going to remind everybody, take notes of what Jack just said there. If you got to rewind this and replay what he just said, perfect. I hope you do. I hope you guys go take notes. I always encourage people to take their notes on their phone or wherever they're listening to this, and take away some of the talking points that you said. So, Jack, you got a fan in me, brother. I'm going to be watching for you in March. Hopefully, we'll see you in a fight in March, and then going on throughout 2023. So I'll be following you, man.
We'll definitely see one in March, mate, for sure.
Let's get it. Where can everybody follow you, Jack, so they can, follow your story? Is there somewhere to find a website, Instagram, anywhere?
Instagram is Jack Eglin MMA. Yeah, that's probably about the only social media I'm big. Like I go on. Like I'm shit with Twitter, so I don't really go on Twitter. My Facebook, I don't really go on Facebook. So yeah, get on my Instagram. I need to be better, but yeah, get on there, man, and I'll post a bit more on there. So.
Let's get it. I'm going to make sure to link your Instagram page here in the description as well. So those who are listening, check out his Instagram. Jack, I just want to say thanks so much for joining the Game Time Guru podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, I appreciate your stories, brother. We'll talk soon, all right?
For sure, brother. My man.
All right. Take care, brother. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.